I believe that art of the future is art without objects. It is just pure transmission of energy between the viewer and the artist. To me, this reality is the answer. Marina Abramovic. Hey guys, my name is Katarina Berry. In today's video, I want to talk about Marina Abramovic and her collaboration with Microsoft to design something that is called The Life. Now, what I just read is a direct quote from Maria at the very beginning of the video that Microsoft published just recently that has already been taken down by Microsoft due to overwhelming amount of dislikes it has received from the YouTube community. And I believe they have removed the announcement from their website. Now, before we get started with this video, I want to kind of tell you a little bit about who I am. And I'm going to be offering the perspective of an intuitive, someone who is an empath. So what that means is I'm very receptive to people's energies. I'm very sensitive to their intent, what they feel, what they mean. And I am not into conspiracy theories. I do not have the energy to entertain different possibilities that could be extremely harmful and dangerous, though they may, because I dedicate my energy on the projects that I create, the art that I create, the business ideas that I nurture into manifestation. And like I said, I am very sensitive to energy, so I get easily overwhelmed by certain things that, like, for example, overwhelming conspiracy theories, because I just find that I can't really get into it. However, when I found out about this event, I had this intuitive calling to investigate it, because although I've heard of Marina Abramovic in the past, I cannot really say, or could not really say, that I'm very familiar with any specific art of hers. I knew that she was a performance artist, but that is about all that I knew. So whenever I receive an intuitive guidance to pursue something, or to uncover something, or to explore something, or simply research something, I tend to respect and honor that, because that only happens when there is some purpose in it, and I'm very in touch with my intuition, and actually that's what my channel is dedicated to. And this is not the video I would normally make. So with all of that being said, now I want to get to the actual perspective that I have formulated. So starting with the facts, I found the video that, although it has been deleted, it has been reposted and re-uploaded by other people besides Microsoft. And in it, Maria starts with the quote that I just quoted for you guys. And after that, she goes into kind of demonstrating how the software works. So it's like a VR, I guess, but essentially they captured her in a way that she appears to the viewer as if she was real, and like as real as possible, and she's able to move and interact with them very personally, so it's like she's actually in the room. Later we hear a little bit from the developers talking about what inspired them to create the software, and how, you know, the art, I think it was presented at the Christie's, how the Christie's is seeing the evolution of art. Then we get to the point where Maria herself tries on the VR piece and sees herself interacting with herself. And she says it is like she's interacting with a ghost. Then at the very end of the video, she says, "Here I am kept forever." Right after she makes a statement about how art is a way to immortality, how the art that you create stays after you're gone, and how performance art is, you know, shouldn't be different, because performance art is all based on a person actually performing So it all sounds okay if you have no idea who Marina Abramovic is or what kind of art she does, which is the perspective that I had. So I was like, okay, I'm not really getting it. So then I started doing some research. Of course, it wasn't really kind of surface level on Google because I didn't really know what terms I was looking for. I just heard something about this strange collaboration that's been getting a lot of negative reviews. And again, I didn't really know what Marina Abramovic created as art. But following my intuition, following my intuitive guidance, I was like, okay, I need more, obviously, because this doesn't tell me much. Although these quotes did kind of, and here's another thing. So before I get into the kind of art that I found that Maria does, here's the intuitive empath perspective. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm very sensitive to people's energy. I'm very sensitive to people's intent. What I mean by that is if someone approaches me without even making eye contact with a harmful intent, like they are either, for example, at a bar, right? Crowded bar, and someone approaches me with an intent of either telling me to move or saying maybe some raunchy compliment or something like that's just not the right vibe, not my type of vibe. I sense it and I'm able to avoid that eye contact. And that's something that I've developed, but that's the way that I kind of feel people. So I trust that intuitive call 100% of times at this point. Even if I'm in a room with a person who seems extremely sweet and is really kind to everyone and is talking really, really like politely, and everyone seems to like that person, if I get an intuitive nudge or an instinctive call that this person is dangerous and that I cannot engage with him or her, I will follow that, even if there is no confirmation that I might even be even slightly correct. I will trust it, and I have, and it has never let me down. So with that prelude, when I watched the video and the way Maria was saying these things, like the exchange of energy and the immortality, and I'm kept here forever, and the ghost of herself, it bothered me spiritually, very much so. Would I be in the same room with this person? No. Would I interact with this person? Would I show myself to a person? And what I mean by show myself is kind of what I'm doing in this video. I'm opening up, I'm sharing with you. I know that whoever is watching this video is actually an individual person. Although I don't see you face to face, but I'm engaged in this communication. So I am present and I'm opening myself up and sharing my point of view very honestly and very openly. Would I do that with Maria face to face? Absolutely not. I had this and I've never really, maybe I've seen her briefly, maybe on television or in some show or something. Again, I wasn't really aware of her art, so I remember some woman with dark hair, but have I seen her that closely as in this ad? Not really. But from what I saw and the energy I read, I would never trust that person. I have no idea whether they're good or bad, how they are, what they do, but when it comes to personal safety call, never. So we're gonna move on to kind of the final part, which is the art that I've discovered that Maria does. So what I found was there is something called spirit cooking that is essentially a ritual, a blood ritual at that, in which Maria uses pig's blood mixed with other excretions of various nature from the research that I found. There is a video of her using that mix to paint on white walls within this building Now, she's doing it very casually, and this video is available easily. It did not take me long to find it. Essentially, if you just look up spirit cooking Marina Abramovic, you'll find it. So essentially, in this video, what's shown is Maria walking around this space with white walls. She's painting these statements that are deeply disturbing, which are kind of like instructions of mixing various, like, again, substances like body excretions together, drinking them, cutting yourself, and eating the pain. There is a variety of other, I'm not going to quote these directly because words have energetic power. Words are transmissions. They are essentially manifested thoughts. So I don't want to transmit or manifest any of these to anyone watching this video. So if you want to look it up, you can find that, but I'm not going to be reciting these. She also has this mysterious object that, if you are a little into the occult history, you may be aware of. There's this term, it's called golem, and this essentially represents a creation of life. And now it's been mentioned in many occult writings, which are considered to be part of ritual magic and esoteric practices that personally I do not practice or investigate, because I do not do that type of work. As a person, as a spiritual being, as someone who chooses to not even introduce these notions into my awareness, because again, your awareness is something that you curate essentially. But from observing what was going on in that room and her ritual essentially of writing these spells and writing them in blood of an animal. Now, of course, there's a lot of speculation that it could have been some other type of blood, but I have no idea. So far, what I've seen confirmed is that it's a blood of an animal, or many animals. There's a lot of blood. And although she does it very casually, like wearing a sweater and glasses and just like seeming very, very calm and like composed, it's almost like this state of there's something in her movement. There's this level of focus, which of course, you know, you have to focus when you're creating your art, but there's something that I sensed that was very intentional, ritualistic, almost timed, very eerie, and it is intended to be that. But I have to say, from a perspective of someone who is intuitive, who is essentially empath, the energy that I am aware of in this video is extremely what I would call negative, dark, draining, vampiric. It is not positive, uplifting creation. It is not a educational creation. It is not educational in the sense that you want it to be. It may bring in awareness that is a very toxic and sadistic and just very damaging, I believe. What Marie's doing is a blood ritual. And from a perspective of rituals, if you're using blood of another animal to do a ritual, that means that you are your personal supply of the energy that you would need to, say, you know, light a candle, meditate, say a prayer, or, you know, set an intention for someone to be well. That kind of energetic exchange, all you need is your intention, your will, your spirit, essentially. When someone's using the life of another being that gets killed or injured for the ritual to happen, essentially taking their blood, that is dark magic, that is dark occult practice that uses life of another to manifest something that they cannot even do themselves. I don't think that's art. Now, life is art, but this kind of art is very dangerous, life-threatening and poisonous art that I would not participate in and I would not encourage. Now, of course, along with my research, I found a lot of the drama happening on political level with supposedly Hillary Clinton's campaign manager being Maria's friend and coming over to her house for the spirit cooking, which is what she calls this ritual that I just described, spirit cooking. Like, essentially this can be interpreted as, cooking is kind of like this coming together of these ingredients to create something new, right? To create something. So spirit cooking could be translated as her trying to artificially create life. And so artificially creating a life, and then Microsoft comes out with an announcement that they've collaborated with Marina Abramovic to create a product that's called The Life. And that product essentially, so right now maybe it will be used for something else. I'm afraid to ask what will it be, because right now it's being used to make Marina Abramovic immortal and to create a ghost out of her that it lives forever, that is kept here forever. And what does Maria do in The Life? She does her performance art, which is this ritual that she calls spirit cooking. Now, I'm not sure if that's what she's doing in the Life, but I'd rather not find out what else it could be, because if that's something that she immortalized consciously, and the art that she practices is this dark occult blood ritual practice of essentially using another animal's life to create some kind of a artificial being, which, by the way, is although it is very secretively and rarely mentioned, and some some occult practices that are not widespread, that are not necessarily well-intended at all, that are often associated with sadistic rituals of torturing other beings. That artificial life, that's not a good thing. That's not a natural thing. That's something that is extremely dangerous, and it's based on essentially taking life from something else. That is not a role for human beings. That is not a role for any beings, to torture another being or to kill another being to create some kind of form of artificial life. And it really is disturbing to me that the product is called The Life, because it's the connection is just really kind of inseparable. And it's disturbing to me that a company such as Microsoft is contributing to essentially demonic, dark, occult, magic rituals that are based on killing animals and collecting their blood. And to think that that's their future direction, and also to think that people will be introduced to this kind of art, maybe not knowing, maybe not aware of the consequences energetically of going through an experience like that, maybe not aware of the possible trauma it might cause. And by the way, if you're going to look up these videos with this ritual, with the spirit cooking, and the other stuff, you might want to think about it, because I know it's a curious subject, but if you're energy sensitive like me, if you're intuitive, if you are able to kind of read people's intent or kind of get into their energy field just by seeing them on television or over your phone, I would suggest you maybe not do that, because it does have a bearing. It is very disturbing to watch. The meanings of the phrases, the spells essentially that she writes in blood, are very disturbing as well. And it's not something I would recommend to anyone really, but especially not energy sensitive people. So overall, I would say this is, there was a reason that I had to dig a little deeper, and I'm glad I found that intuitive nudge, and I'm glad I'm aware now, because I will be aware of the direction Microsoft is taking, and that awareness, I believe, will be a good background for me to observe. And I'm not saying judgment, even when you know something is bad, judgment doesn't really help. Just pointing your finger saying that's really bad doesn't really help. Awareness helps. So understanding if this is the direction this company is taking, paying more attention to the products that you use that are by them, and being more aware of other solutions that you may be participating in going forward. And that awareness may just make you skeptical enough to either not agree to something, not sign something, not buy something that may kind of alter the course of your experience. So I am very much warned, and I'm very, very, very disturbed by what I saw, and by the energy. This is going to be the conclusion, by the energy of Marina Abramovic, because that is not someone who is energetically safe. Again, I want to repeat that. That is not someone I would share myself with, open myself to, even make eye contact with, because I first of all, I do not want any of her vibes in my field anywhere, and I don't want any kind of interaction to reveal any part of me to her. And the reason I say these things is, as an empath, as an intuitive, I've encountered a ton of individuals throughout my life who are energetically dangerous, who are vampiric, who are essentially, they have no limit to which they're not ready to cross to get what they are after. And that involves harm, that involves lack of consent, that involves just trauma, caused intentionally, because there is a reason for it. And I know the energetic landmarks of these types of people. This isn't a type of people, I shouldn't have said that. These kinds of beings, because essentially all of us have free will. And there's no type of people that is predisposed to this, but you have a right to choose. And when you choose to harm an animal and use its blood to spell dark magic, occult spells, and trap people into this experience by calling it art, that tells me a lot about a person. And that choice tells me a lot about what kind of being they are and what kind of being they've made themselves to be. Now, it is very clear that Marina Abramovic is trying to find ways to have immortality in this plane. And to get a little deeper as we finish off this video kind of on the last note into the spiritual understanding of this situation. Essentially, if you are someone who practices dark rituals and uses the energy of other beings that you either torture or kill, and do it for purposes of creating kind of artificial life, that is, first of all, a demonic practice. And second, you are getting farther and farther away from your essence. You're getting farther and farther away from love, which is the light, which is the soul, which is the frequency that essentially is part of, you know, who we are as a soul on a soul level. So when you practice this, you're actually farther and farther away from your soul. So you're more and more disconnected from that essence, which is love, which is compassion, which is kindness, which is this kind of path of ascension, path that masters like Buddha and Jesus pursued and taught. And there are so many more masters like that. So you are not on that path. You are the opposite. You are on the opposite path. You're, instead of that ascension and essentially purifying yourself through these acts of love, you're pursuing the acts of abuse and killing and hurting. And you are using them to create something that's like that, but something that you make or you force. You know, something that is not natural, something that requires sacrifice, something that requires pain and suffering, something that requires a certain part of yourself to be given up. Some people call it selling your soul to the devil. So if you sold your soul to the devil, how would it feel to pass away in this form that you're in? Well, what do you have when you go? What's there? If you sold your soul, if you've given up this essence that is love, that is life, that is light, if you've sold it off, if you said, okay, I give this up to have this other thing, what do you have when you pass? I don't know, because I don't see an answer to this. So obviously it makes sense that Maria wants to stay here forever. And this cloud software or this performance art piece, the life, is gonna keep her there, as she said, forever. So there you go. And I'm happy to be sharing this information with you guys. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like. So I know that this has been helpful to you. This isn't the kind of video I would usually do. This isn't the kind of subject I would usually discuss, but I felt that it was important, especially for psychics, for empaths, for spiritually aware people, for intuitives, for those that are just very sensitive to energy, very receptive to different energetic attacks and interference. Watch out for this and be aware of Microsoft collaborating with Maria on this new software. So on this note, if you're interested in more videos about empaths and how to manage these abilities, how to manage these sensitivities, how to set energy boundaries, how to learn to read people before they make eye contact with you so that you can protect yourself from being interfered with or being kind of drawn into conversations you don't want to have or being energy dumped on, which happens sometimes, and it's extremely annoying. Check out my YouTube channel and subscribe if you'd like. I don't have an upload schedule. I upload every once in a while, so if you would like to stay kind of connected with my content, you can hit that bell button and it will let you know every time that I upload. I am very grateful that you've decided to share this time and space with me, and again, I hope this video has been helpful to you. On this note, I love you so very much. I hope you can feel my love. Bye.